Welcome. It is Tuesday, March 23rd, 2021. Again, in the Atlanta area, enjoying a beautiful day today where I think temperatures are lower 70s, something like that, or upper 60s today, and a little bit of cloud cover, but enjoying another mild day. The winter escaped Atlanta. I think they only had one snow of whatever, half of an inch the entire winter. So good job, the Atlanta, Georgia area. So anyways, hopefully you're having a great Tuesday. So wanted to share a movie that I watched last night I'd never heard of before, and it was a movie that was a true story about it was called Ford versus Ferrari, and it talked about Henry Ford Jr., or Henry Ford II, I guess, and how he wanted to appeal to those younger, men and so forth with their vehicles, and how Ferrari kept winning the Le Mans, they call it Lemans, that was in Italy, and this took place back in 1966. So it was like a year before I was born. And so I watched this movie called Ford versus Ferrari, and had Matt Damon in it as a guy named Shelby. His last name was Shelby. He was the one that was the Shelby, I think, Mustang, but that he had actually gone to work for Ford to try to help them to beat Ferrari. And it's a neat story about a guy, it's a true story about this mechanic named Ken Hines, who was a world-class race car driver, but he was not the typical person that Ford would want to represent them. And so ultimately Ford couldn't win. They kept losing their races, and so Matt Damon's character, I think his name is Carol maybe, Shelby, said that, listen, we got to have Ken Hines drive the actual race car if we're going to beat Ferrari. So he took Henry Ford for a drive in the race car, and it scared Ford how scary that it was to drive it. And he told him, this is the whole point. You need to have Ken Hines be your driver. And he goes, I know that this one guy that he put in charge of the Ford racing team didn't like him, but he said, listen, if you're going to win it, this is the guy to do it with. So then Ford agreed to let him race in, I don't think it was the Daytona 500, but it was a Daytona race. And he won it. He said if he wins this, then he's going to be able to drive at Le Mans. And so he did. And then ultimately they showed the movie, and it's a real story. He overcame the Ferrari drivers in Le Mans, and it was on the final lap, and he was told to hold up and to not win it by, a huge margin, but to wait, because the other two Ford drivers that were in that race were, also like running number 2 and number 3. So he ultimately slowed down at the very end, and then he came in, all three of them, so they could take a picture that the number 1, number 2, number 3 race cars from Ford were that close. Well, ultimately the team, the league officials decided not to say that Hines won it, because another guy that was from Ford came from farther behind. So they gave the race to him. And then later that year, Hines ended up dying in an accident. This is in 1966, a true story. So he ultimately was never credited with winning the Le Mans race. So anyway, it's a really good story, because when the three essentially tied, and they took a picture of it, but they gave it to the other person, Hines didn't throw a fit. He didn't get mad and angry. He just continued on. And everybody knew that he won it because he was in first place the whole way. So anyway, it's a great, I really encourage, very good movie about, overcoming obstacles and doing what needs to be done. And there is an injustice where the people from the high ups at Ford wanted him to be held back so that he wouldn't overwhelmingly win it. And now, whether or not they knew that another guy would get the race and be declared the winner over him or not, I don't know what the truth is there. But anyway, good movie. Hadn't seen that ever before. Came out a couple of years ago, apparently. So Alrighty, 2021 Breakthrough Tour. So I got some more news, latest and greatest on my travels that are going forth between March and July. Of course, this weekend, Saturday night, going to be in Savannah, Georgia for the first time at the Marriott Savannah Riverfront. It's a beautiful property, beautiful hotel, and we are expecting hopefully a full room there at the Marriott. So that again is this Saturday, March 27th, 7 p.m. and should last until, I don't know, I normally try and be done by 9 p.m. and then people will linger and buy books and ask questions and so forth. So that way we can be out of there, all of us, by no later than, I don't know, 9:45 or maybe 10 at the latest. So, and then the following weekend will be April the 4th, Sunday morning, Easter. I'll be at Cooter's Place in Luray, Virginia, which is in the western part of Virginia, the Shenandoah Valley. It's just beautiful there. Cooter, which his real name's Ben Jones, from the Dukes of Hazzard. I know that they will be performing on Saturday, April the 3rd. It's from 1 to 3 p.m. and my good friend Lisa Meadows. And then on April 4th, Sunday morning, Easter, I will be speaking there at Cooter's Place and doing what we do, our breakthroughs, getting people healed, their inner healing and soul wounds, getting healed from the Lord so that people don't have anger and bitterness and they can see miracles in their lives and get along with people and have fun. And then I just talked to the Atlanta Marriott Perimeter Center sales director. Apparently he was out of the office yesterday, and I emailed him yesterday, but we're looking to get a date on the calendar to come there to the Atlanta Marriott Perimeter Center where I was at back in October 3rd. I was also there in January. And he is confirming with another vendor for May the 1st. He's not heard back from them yet. They have not signed the proposal. So if they end up not signing it, then he's going to offer it to me, and then I will schedule it for May the 1st. If it turns out that person takes May the 1st, then I will look at May the 8th. So just to let you know, we'll be doing an event in Atlanta, on another one. So yay. And then May 22nd, 23rd, Hot Springs, Arkansas, the Highland Street Revival Church. I was there the Sunday after Thanksgiving last year. Pastor Richie Willis. May 29th, May 30th, be in Merkel, Texas at the Fountain Gate Merkel Church. And then let you know, June 5th, June 6th, the Needles of Son of God. We are not going to do that event. There are too few people that are attending that because of COVID. So I talked to the pastor, and what I'm doing now is June the 6th at 6 p.m. I'll be at Ecclesia Global in Anaheim, California with Pastor Darren Brown, DB Brown. And they always have a good turnout there. So looking forward to Orange County, California, and not sure, on June the 5th I may schedule an event in Phoenix, so stay tuned on that. Or maybe in California. And then June the 12th and 13th, the following weekend, we'll be in Bernie, California, up in Northern California at Anna Denny's place. And then the weekend after that's open. I may be going to Portland, Oregon, so I'll let you know on that. And then June 25th, 26th, 27th, that weekend, the last weekend of June, we'll be in Seattle, Washington at the Point Church, Pastor Mike Sackman. And then July 9th and 10th in Billings, Montana at the Everlasting Covenant Congregation. And then I'll look to continue to build this out, schedule it out to fill out July and August. So stay tuned on that. All right, so the topic of the day is people who waste your time often do it by design. And that rhymes. So, but it's true. You know, there are people, and we all know them, that unfortunately they do. There are time wasters, and there are people obviously that are sent on assignment by the enemy to waste our time. You know, if we've got an assignment from the Lord to do, you know, if we're doing some ministry locally or wherever, that the enemy will send people to you to waste your time. And I'll say this too, this also covers people that are your family, you know, your family and friends. You could have a father or a mother that all they do is like provoke you, wear you out, say negative words to you, and that just wastes your time. Should you be spending time talking to your father and mother about things that are time wasters, that get you nowhere, that just exhaust you? I'm going to be talking about a scripture here that Jesus talks about that, he's basically saying, stay away. Stay away from people that are time wasters, that are aligned with the enemy and negative things, and keep yourself close to the Lord and keep yourself at peace, because if you spend a lot of time with people that are time wasters, then you're going to be frustrated, you're going to be exhausted, you're not going to accomplish what the Lord wants you to accomplish that day, that week, that month, that year, your lifetime. So you have to be very careful about who you spend time with, who are in your close inner circle, because if those people are sent by the enemy, are time wasters, you're going to accomplish not much of anything, ever. I know of people that will contact me. Oh my gosh, Nelson, will you please pray for me? My mother or my father is exhausting me again. And I'm like, oh really? Why are you having contact with them? Because this is, the 10th time you've asked for prayer in the last 10 months. And it's always the same person. So I know, and I get it and understand if you are in a marriage with someone that is a time waster, that's got the spirit of Jezebel, Leviathan, that wants to control you, manipulate you, and the Lord has you in that relationship for the time being, but still, even then, you can't forever stay attached closely with a person, even if they're your spouse. You can't make them an idol above God, if they're on assignment to wear you out, confuse you, to cause you to be exhausted, and ultimately it will get you sicker and sicker and sicker. If you're around a person that is going to spew forth negativity and pull you down and make fun of you and mock you and control you and manipulate you, stop you from doing what God's calling you to do, then they're sent on assignment by the enemy, and it's not going to go well. So people who are not delivered from demons will purposefully waste your time. They will act like they want your help. They will strive with you about everything. They will cause you to spend lots of time giving them what they want, but it never produces anything good. It doesn't produce fruit. It doesn't produce peace. It exhausts you. It can make you sicker and sicker to the point of death. And if they speak out enough death over you, negativity over you. So how do you best deal with people whose intentions of their heart are to waste your time, are to argue with you, are to complain, are to speak fear, speak negative, threaten you? The best thing to do with those people is to stay away from them, if you can. And I get it and understand that if you're married to someone, I had to go through that for a season, but not forever. If the person's intentions are to complain, be negative, pull you down, make your life miserable so you can never do anything for God, then you have to do what I do. What I did. I guess what I did. What the Lord asked me was, Nelson, who are you going to serve? The demons in your wife or me? Because he said, if you serve the demons in your wife, you won't do anything for me. I have a calling on your life. I want you to help people all over the world get set free and delivered. I'm like, but God, I go, don't you hate divorce? He said, put it this way. If you bow down and serve the demons in your spouse, you'll do nothing for me. And then at the end of your life, you look back, you come up to heaven, and I say, okay, what did you do for me? God says to me, and I'm like, well, I couldn't do anything because my wife stopped me. He's like, oh, really? So you made her an idol before me. You chose to serve her over me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I never thought about it like that, God. And God's like, well, you need to think about it like that. Because he said there's a lot of people who are struggling in their marriages, and they're putting their spouse before God. And he said, that's not good. And I'm like, I never thought about it like that. He said, nope. He goes, but you need to, because he said, that's the goal of the enemy. There's a lot of marriages where the enemy has sent people who are going to stop you from doing anything for God, or limiting it to very minimal. And there's a lot of people that's the goal of the enemy, is to set you up. And then you end up settling, you end up serving the demons in them, you end up making them an idol above God. And that's wrong. So I'm like, oh my gosh, Lord, I never thought about it like that. And he said, yeah, think about it like that, because that's the truth. So again, some of these people that are time wasters, you could be related to. Some could be your brother, your sister, your mom, your dad. And then what do? Well, you should stay away from them. Love them from afar. Because people with demons are time wasters. Until they truly get serious and want to change, the demons in them will waste your time. I don't know how many times I remember having conversations with my spouse, and it would go in circles over and over, and they would never stay on the subject at hand, and that was 90% of the time their behavior. It's like, really? Don't go off on me for 5 hours straight, over nothing, over trivial things, over ridiculous things. Let's deal with that. Let's talk about that. And of course, if the person is hearing demonic spirits, you're going to waste your time. You're not going to be able to get anywhere. That's why you really need to get these people to an inner healing and deliverance session. And it could be you that needs to get there. If you don't have peace, you're hearing a lot of demonic thoughts every day. Of course, the enemy's going to think that going to make that person convince them that the thoughts that they have are the truth. And then they will see their spouse or their children or anyone else in a wrong light. It will not be truth. It will not be the way things truly are. So what does the Lord say about all this? And again, my goal is to save marriages. That's the goal of our ministry. And we are seeing that happen. But people have free wills. So they can choose to keep demonic spirits if they want. They can choose to blame other people for all their problems. They can choose to play the victim role their whole lives and make people feel sorry for them instead of getting delivered from the spirits of Jezebel and Leviathan that cause them to control, manipulate, and abuse their spouse and their children. They want to act like they're a poor victim their whole lives. Well, that doesn't do anything for anyone except allow the demons to stay talking to them and ruining them. So what does Jesus say? Jesus says, Matthew 10, 34 through 39. Normally I read from Luke, but it was interesting last night when I searched. It came up in Matthew, and when I read it, it was a little different, and I liked it. So I'm going to read what it says here in Matthew 10, 34 through 39. Jesus said this. Again, Jesus said this. It's in red letters. It says, "Do not think that I came to bring peace on earth. I did not come to bring peace, but a sword. For I have come to," and then it's got quotes around this, "I have come to set a man against his father, a daughter against her mother, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. And a man's enemies will be those of his own household." Isn't that interesting how that's worded? So you're going to have enemies that are going to be from your own household. Your mom, your brother, your sister, your spouse. And when they are your enemy, who are you going to serve? The demons in them or God? It's so important. And again, those who have this spirit of Jezebel and Leviathan, they will oftentimes have a twisted view of truth and reality. They will view themselves as being in the right, and the demons will convince them that those that they were abusing, controlling, manipulating, are in the wrong. And that's the truth. See it all the time. I do counseling sessions, deliverance sessions is what they are, but I have to discern who's more of the Jezebel, who's more of the Ahab. Typically the people that are more of the Jezebel will want to talk more. They want to get their point across. They want to act like they're the innocent victim, and the demons are in charge. And if I were to listen and agree with them, side with them, against their true victim spouse, I wouldn't be doing them a service. I wouldn't be helping the person that's really truly controlling and manipulative get delivered. So that's why I tell both parties, that listen, we need to go back and get our inner soul wounds healed first, command the demons to be gone from those, and be honest with that session. And then once the demonic spirits are displaced and gone, then the person can be honest and say, yeah, I've been a little more controlling than I should have been with my spouse. Whereas before they get inner healed and delivered, they won't say that. They'll lie. They'll lie. So anyway, Jesus says a man's enemies will be those of his own household. So can you align yourself with those? Can you be really close with your father or your mother or your spouse or your brother or your sister if they're aligned with demonic spirits and doing things that are evil of the flesh, striving, fighting, arguing? No, you can't. So you're going to have to come away, come apart. And then he goes on, Jesus goes on, it says, he who loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. And that applies to anyone. He who loves his husband or wife more than God is not worthy of God. And that's true. So again, those who struggle with these demonic spirits at a higher level, that have Jezebel and Leviathan, they're going to try to control their spouse, get them to listen to them, bow down to them, shut their mouths, obey them. And if you do that, and that's what the demon's goal is to get you to out of fear, out of maybe familiarity. If you've been married to the person for a couple of years, it doesn't even have to be that long. It could be on your wedding night you start seeing it. I saw that. Within the first couple of weeks you see it. It's like, oh my gosh, am I going to bow down to the demons in them? No, I'm going to bow down to God. I'm not going to tolerate that. There's a lot of people that tolerate that their whole lives, their whole marriages. And all they're doing is getting weaker and weaker and weaker, feeling like they're going to die. And then they serve the person and the demons within the person instead of God. And it says here, he who loves father or mother, again you could say brother, sister, husband, wife, more than me is not worthy of me. Saying ain't so, Jesus. Well, it is so. It is true. You can't put anyone before God. I don't care if they are your husband or wife. If they're husband and wife and they're trying to control you, shut you down, then your goal should be to try to get them delivered. And I know that it's hard. I know that they probably will not listen to you. That's why if they can at least watch one of our videos, our testimony videos on YouTube, we've got, I think, 35 different testimonies now out there on YouTube, from husbands, from wives, from families, from children, men, women. And then if the person sees that, and then the Holy Spirit can get through enough to them to say, listen, hello, ding, 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 this is you. You have the same problem. That's what they had. And now they're freed. And now they can admit it. But the people that are very prideful, very arrogant, won't admit it. Well, nothing wrong with me. I'm perfect. All my problems are my spouse. So, gotta look in the mirror. Okay, it says, and he who loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. So we can't even love our children more than God. So again, if we have a child, and maybe we're the one that's infected them and hurt them, that's what happens. Most kids, that's how most adults get hurt, is through the relationship with their dad or their mom, where their dad or their mom said something to them that hurt them because they weren't healed, weren't delivered. And then it passes on down to the next generation. So we may say, oh my gosh, I really love my son or my daughter. But maybe they have been hurt by you. And if they have, then you need to say, forgive me. Forgive me, son. Forgive me, daughter, for saying horrible things to you to hurt you, to turn you away from me, and to turn them away from God. And it could be reversed. It could be that the child is serving the Lord, and then the parent's not. Well, then the child should not bow down to what the parents want. Now, they can honor them, but they sure cannot obey those who have demonic spirits. All right. So, and he who loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. And he who does not take his cross and follow after me is not worthy of me. He who finds his life will lose it, and he who loses his life for my sake will find it. So that's Matthew 10, 34 through 39. So do not make your parent an idol. Do not put them before God. Do not make your spouse an idol. Do not put them before God. Do not make your child. Do not make your boss an idol. Do not make anyone. Proverbs 9, 6 through 12 says, forsake foolishness and live, and go in the way of understanding. He who corrects a scoffer gets shame for himself, and he who rebukes a wicked man only harms himself. Do not correct a scoffer, lest he hate you. Rebuke a wise man, and he will love you. Give instruction to a wise man, and he will be still wiser. Teach a just man, and he will increase in learning. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the Holy One is understanding. For by me your days will be multiplied, and years of life will be added to you. If you are wise for yourself, and if you scoff, you will bear it alone. So, what that's talking about is, let's say that you have a person in your life that won't listen to you, wasting your time. Again, I get messages from people all the time. Will you please pray? I mean, they want their mom or their dad or their spouse to change so that they will treat them nicely. And there'll be a lot of people say, well, I'm going to pray and fast and get them to change. I'm like, okay, that's fine, but they have a free will to choose. Sure. Should you pray for them? Sure. Should you be around them 24/7 and let them go off on you and speak horrible words to you that are negative, that are going to hurt you all the time? No. Pull away from them. Again, if you're in a marriage, I know it's harder. There's times that I had to pull away and sleep in another room, sleep in my car, sleep in the mulch down the street, in the playground. I remember that time when that happened. I was like, okay, God, I cannot go through another, 3 hours of tongue lashing for nothing. So I'm like, I'm going to go down and sleep in the mulch in our neighborhood playground. And I did that. I think it was on a Saturday night. And these 2 teenagers came in, and I was there trying to sleep, minding my own business in the mulch, and the 2 teenagers looked down at me and said, oh, look at the poor homeless man. I woke up and I'm like, I'm not homeless. I own the home, it's right down the street there, but I can't go there because I have a wife and she goes off on me for hours for no reason. It's because of, something demonic, I'm pretty sure. So it is sad and it is embarrassing, but you got to protect yourself from people who have demonic spirits. Do not expose yourself and allow them to go off on you over and over and over again. It is not healthy. It will cause you to exhaust yourself, and you're wasting your time trying to get through to them. So again, all the time I get people, will you please pray for me? My spouse is doing this. My mother or my father, why would a mother say that to me? I'm like, because they have demons. Why would a father say this to me? Because they have demons. Why would my spouse say this to me? Because they have demons. And then they come back again a week later. Oh my gosh, I'm going through this again. Will you please pray for me? And I'm like, really? I go, I'm pretty sure the Lord's saying, okay, enough is enough. Have you warned them? Have you given them time to repent? Have you told them that you're not going to tolerate this anymore? See, I had to do that myself. And the Lord told me to stay in the relationship it turned out to be 6 years. And in other situations, if you have a relationship with someone and maybe you have a ministry in place, you can't tolerate that very long because the demons in that person want to stop you from doing the ministry. And then you're putting the ministry at risk and other people's lives are at stake. And you cannot do that. It's hard to hear the truth, but it is the truth. You cannot put a person with demons in front of other people because those demons will destroy and shut down. That's what Jezebel does. It wants to shut down the true flowing of the Lord. It wants to stop what God's doing. So here's a good example in the Bible of a person that did not tolerate people that were trying to stop him from doing what God's calling was in his life. His name was Nehemiah. Nehemiah is good. Good guy. Nehemiah 6 is chapter 6, 1 through 19. Here we go. It says, now it happened when Sanballat, Tobiah, Geshem the Arab, and the rest of our enemies heard that I had rebuilt the wall and that there were no breaks left in it, though at the time I had not hung the doors and the gates, that Sanballat and Geshem sent to me, saying, come, let us meet together among the villages in the plain of Ono. But they thought to do me harm. So he discerned, he knew. They were time wasters. They thought to do him harm, thought to probably lock him up, maybe even kill him. So, what should he have done? Should he have bowed down and listened to these people? No. He would not be doing what God called him to do. So it says, so I sent messengers to them saying, I am doing a great work, so that I cannot come down. Why should the work cease while I leave it and go down to you? But they sent me this message 4 times, and I answered them in the same manner. So 4 times. So what does that mean to you? That means that the persons that are sent to waste your time will try and provoke and distract you over and over and over in order to wear you down to get you to do what they want. So how many times should you let them do that? Now I will do what God tells me to do. Sometimes it may be that I give the person 2 times to knock it off. And if they can't, and if they go on for hours, I'll say enough. I'm out of here. I'm not going to waste my time. I don't have time to do this. It's too much of the ministry that God is doing, and I'm not going to waste my time. You know, some people, it may be that we allow them in our Jezebel support group, and then they end up causing strife, you know, and we may warn them after the first time they do it. If they do it again, they may say, you're gone. You're out of here. We're not going to waste our time. And that's the demons in the person. So if the person's ready to humble themselves, keep their mouths quiet, and listen for the truth, and then make some changes in themselves, then great. That's what we want to do. But the demons want to continue to push the envelope with you. Well, gee, if I got away with it today, I can get away with it more tomorrow. I can waste some more of their time tomorrow. This is going to be great. Pretty soon, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. You know, they will spend all their time with me, and they can't do anything for the Lord. All right, so, he said, but they sent, let me see here. They thought to do him harm, so I sent messages to them. I'm doing great work so that I cannot come down. Why should the work cease while I leave it and go down to you? But they sent me this message 4 times, and I answered them in the same manner. Then Sanballat sent his servant to me as before the 5th time, with an open letter in his hand. In it was written, it is reported among the nations, and Geshem says, that you and the Jews plan to rebel. So what are they doing? They're accusing. You know, people will do that. People with demons will accuse, trying to say, this is what you're up to. And it's wasting your time. They're like, really? No, it's not. So talk to the hand, you know, but people keep on trying to provoke. All right. It says, according to these rumors, that you're planning to rebel, therefore, according to these rumors, you are rebuilding the wall, that you may be their king. And you have also appointed prophets to proclaim concerning you at Jerusalem, saying, there is a king in Judah. Now these matters will be reported to the king. So come, therefore, and let us consult together. Then I sent to him, saying, no such things as you say are being done, but you invent them in your own heart. So they're lying. They're making things up. For they were all trying to make us afraid. That's what the demons do. And people trying to threaten you, make you afraid to bow down to them. Saying, their hands will be weakened in the work, and it will not be done. Now therefore, O God, strengthen my hands. Afterward, I came to the house of Shemaiah, the son of Delaiah, the son of Mahedabel, who was a secret informer. And he said, let us meet together in the house of God, within the temple, and let us close the doors of the temple, for they are coming to kill you. Indeed, at night they will come to kill you. And I said, should such a man as I flee? And who is there such as I who would go into the temple to save his life? I will not go in. Then I perceived that God had not sent him at all. So he discerned. So again, people are going to say things to you saying, you know what, God told me this to tell you. And I'll say this, if I would have listened to almost anyone that was giving me advice along the road, the ministry wouldn't be where it's at today. They would have caused me to get off course, get into fear, do it their way. And I'd say about 90% of the time, people that gave me advice wasn't what God was telling me to do. So you have to be very careful, very discerning. Don't listen to a lot of things that man would actually say to you. If they're godly and you can actually have seen some good fruit from them in the past, then you can, definitely consider listening to what they say. But most people that have demons want to just spew forth their thoughts and their recommendations to you to get you off course. You know, we see this with people who have children that have been hurt and wounded. Maybe the children turn because they were hurt. And if you pile on top and speak forth some words that are very controlling and manipulative of them, it might hurt them worse and cause them to pull away from you even farther and take longer for them to come back. So don't necessarily listen to advice from people that are maybe your cousins or aunts, uncles, or grandparents, because that advice could be very, very tainted for the enemy. All right, let me go on. It says, then I perceived that God had not sent him at all, but that he pronounced this prophecy against me because Tobiah and Sanballat had hired him. For this reason he was hired, that I should be afraid and act that way and sin, so that they might have cause for an evil report, that they might reproach me. My God, remember Tobiah and Sanballat according to these their works, and the prophetess Noadiah, and the rest of the prophets who would have made me afraid. So the wall was finished on the 25th day of Elul in 52 days. And it happened when all our enemies heard of it, and all the nations around us saw these things, that they were very disheartened in their own eyes, for they perceived that this work was done by our God. Also in those days, the nobles of Judah sent many letters to Tobiah, and the letters of Tobiah came to him. For many in Judah were pledged to him, because he was the son-in-law of Shechaniah, the son of Erah, and his son Jehohanan had married the daughter of Meshullam, the son of Berechiah. Also they reported his good deeds before me, and reported my words to him. Tobiah sent letters to frighten me. So that's what the enemy does. They want to waste your time. They want to threaten you. They want to cause you to get off course. And it's not easy. It's not easy standing up to someone who might be in your face, who might lie about you. And that's what a lot of times will happen, is people with Jezebel will make things up about you, will lie about you, and try and turn people away from you. They could try and turn your family members away from you. And it's hard to stand up and do the right thing, knowing that, you know, I'll just say this, people that have Jezebel, they'll threaten you that you better do what they want. And if you don't, then they're going to spread lies and rumors about you. That's how it works. You know, there's people that would want to try to, you know, shut my ministry down. And it's God's ministry. You know, it'd be much easier not to do this, but I know that it needs to be done. So what are the main reasons or the main ways and tactics that the enemy and other people that have demons work? Is they want to spread lies and rumors. And I'm like, it just wears you down. And it's like the Lord says, don't even spend a second responding to them. Keep on moving forward. You're busy enough doing what the Lord wants you to do. You're seeing the fruit. They have no fruit in their lives. Yes, and it's interesting, those that would listen to people that would lie tend to have the same demonic spirits strong in their own lives. So like spirits, people that have demonic spirits will typically become buddies and friends with those who have demonic spirits. And they will end up joining in on the fun of lying and manipulating. And those who don't have those demonic spirits, they'll see the truth. They know the truth. They won't listen to those people. They'll say, okay, those people are off, and those people could act like they're in the ministry. They could be in the ministry, but they could also treat people very, very badly and gossip a lot. So anyways, the best thing you can do is to keep on doing what God tells you to do. Ignore people. Don't give them, I'll say this, the enemy and other people will try to text you, call you, leave you messages, email you. The best thing to do when you've discerned and know that they're not godly, they're not good, they're going to waste your time, is to stop it. Block them on your phone so that you don't get any text or they can't leave any messages. Block them on social media so they can't get through, because their goal is to get a message to you, to threaten you, to say, I'm going to do this if you don't do what I tell you to do, and it wastes your time. So don't have anything to do with them. And if they send you an email, don't even read it. Block it. Send it to the junk file, and then don't even read it. Because if you read even one sentence from a person that's got demonic spirits, it's going to cause you to either get into fear, get into worry. It's going to waste your time. And you don't want to waste your time. There's too many things that God wants to do in your life. So I thank Heavenly Father, Lord, right now. I just show, Lord, just reveal to everyone if they have time wasters in their lives, who they are, and show them that it's okay not to say anything to them anymore. It's okay to turn away. It's okay to love them from afar and not waste their time. And in fact, that's the way that God is instructing us in many cases. It says, do not put other family members before God. Don't make them idols. It's so, so needed. Let me read this again. Matthew 10, 34, 39. Do not think that I came to bring peace on earth. I did not come to bring peace, but a sword. For I have come to set a man against his father, a daughter against her mother, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. And a man's enemies will be those of his own household. He who loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. And he who loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. And he who does not take his cross and follow after me is not worthy of me. He who finds his life will lose it, and he who loses his life for my sake will find it. So again, don't make anyone an idol before God. Love them, yes, but you may have to love them from a distance. You don't want to waste time. So, alrighty. Well, any other questions that you may have, you can let me know. Otherwise, I will be this Saturday, the 27th of March in Savannah at the Marriott Riverfront in Savannah, Georgia. And then the next weekend I'll be in Luray, Virginia, April the 4th on Easter Sunday morning at Cooter's Place. And then maybe it's May the 1st that I'll be in Atlanta at the Atlanta Marriott Perimeter Center. But stay tuned on that. We should know hopefully by the end of today, and then I can let you guys know by tomorrow. So, alrighty, I will let you guys go. So we will see you guys. All right. Somebody has a question? Scriptures and the demons surrounding me. But this code has hold of me. Yeah, I'll say this too. We've had, I'll be speaking at it's a Messianic congregation. I've been there a couple times. Everlasting Covenant congregation in Billings, Montana. So the Lord's had me go into some of the Messianic congregations around the country and do ministry. And I'll say this too: when you are healed and you're, let's see, how do you tell when it's not time for you to minister? Wait, get back here. How do you tell when it's not time for you to minister to someone? Like when you're getting trained in deliverance, how do you discern who not to pray for? I mean, oftentimes, I'll ask the Lord, show me, am I supposed to minister to this person or not? Is it my time yet? Like in my case, I remember this is back in late 2008 is when I got delivered. Unbeknownst to me, just essentially woke up and I felt different. I felt really peaceful. I started hearing the Lord speak to me and felt really clean and pure. It was just amazing. And then it was in early 2009 that I went to a conference and started having these prophetic words, the first ones in my life, saying, you're going to have this worldwide ministry helping, lots, like millions of people come to Christ in a real way and getting healed and healed from their past pains and wounds. And you'll be prophesying over them. You'll be doing deliverance and all this stuff. And I'm like, what? Who am I? That's not who I am. Well, after they had 3 different people give me the same word, then ultimately that planted a seed. But that was in January 2009. It wasn't until 2015 that I started doing ministry, just starting to. And that was after going through some extreme abuse. That was part of my training, understanding Jezebel and a spouse and how they could go off on you and throw knives and glasses and chase you and be crazy and then act all sweet and nice and prophesy and pray in tongues before the church. So it took me a while, and I was in corporate America, business, making a lot of money, but I had no desire after I started getting these prophetic words and I started learning, getting trained about the spiritual things. And so it took me, though, from the time I got those prophecies, 2009 till 2015, I started doing ministry, 6 years. And I had to separate from my wife because the demons in her were manifesting all the time. And it was like impossible for me to do ministry. And she wouldn't get delivered and wouldn't humble herself and wouldn't be honest. So the Lord said, you got to serve me. Who are you going to serve? Demons in her or me? I'm like, well, I'm going to serve you. I'm tired of serving the demons in her. It's like, she won't change. And then finally I separated, and the Lord started revealing to me about spirits of Jezebel and Leviathan and how they worked. And I could see all the characteristics, started doing research. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this explains everything, and try to get her delivered, but she wouldn't do it. So the Lord started sending me people, and I started helping them to see this. And then it took them through prayers to get delivered. And then I learned more about witchcraft, learned more about soul wound healing and how critical that was. And again, I had to go through real life examples of this to understand it at the level that I needed to. And now we're seeing fruit, huge fruit, great fruit all over the place. And it's a simple message. It's like you get wounded and you get hurt when you're growing up, you'll hear demons, and the demons will tell you things and cause you to not have peace, and you'll go off on people, you get triggered, you get jealous, you get angry, controlling, manipulative. You'll oftentimes get sickness and disease because of that. And then how to get delivered is you got to forgive. Forgive people for hurting you. That's a hard thing for a lot of people. Oh, you can imagine what they did to me. They did horrible things to me. I'm like, well then, gee, I wonder what was done to them. Because people don't just be mean to you unless something's been done mean to them. Hurting people hurt people. So you may have to ask Jesus to come to show you and give you a word or a vision about why your dad or mom or whoever it was hurt you, your spouse, so you can truly forgive them. And when you truly forgive a person, humble yourself from your own pride, repent for what you've done, then that takes the legal rights away from the demons to torment your thoughts, giving you the 12,000 to 60,000 negative thoughts a day, which is what the National Science Foundation did in a study in 2005 and found, of which 80% of those thoughts were negative, and 95% are repetitive. So, yeah, so it is challenging when it is your family. And again, everybody's got family members who have the spirit of Jezebel, where somebody's very controlling and manipulative. So what do? Well, you pray and you ask the Lord to show you, Lord, how much time am I supposed to spend around this person who's trying to waste my time and abuse me? The Lord may say, have nothing to do with them. Cut it off. Love them from afar. The Lord may say, separate. If you've given your spouse time to repent and they won't own it and they refuse to and blame everything on you, I mean, my gosh, I remember I had no peace. It was horrible. I mean, no peace every day. Some days were way worse than others. And then finally when I separated, oh my gosh, peace. The first night, sleeping soundly, not having someone go off on me for hours. Oh, it felt so good. I could sleep well, I could have good dreams. I felt so much more refreshed. You know, when you're around a person and all they do is go off on you, or they lie about you and to your family or your friends, it's like, oh my gosh, it's horrible. So you can imagine trying to do ministry, you know, and I remember the Lord's like, I'm preparing you for ministry. I'm like, well, then you need to prepare my spouse because my spouse is way off. And if they don't get freed, I go, I don't see how I can do ministry. And the Lord finally said, they're not going to choose freedom. They're going to keep their demons. So now you got to make the decision. Who are you going to serve, the demons in them or me? And I'm like, are you kidding me, God? And so there's a lot of people in that situation where they've got a spouse. And I'm always wanting everyone to get delivered, but they have a free will. So you can get them to hopefully watch some of the testimony videos, tremendous ones, that we've seen, saving their marriages, saving their families. Again, we're on YouTube, so you can go out to our playlist where it says video testimonies. Go out to Nelson Schumann on YouTube, and then it says video testimonies, and then have your spouse watch it. And I know it's very hard to get the spouse to admit that has Jezebel. They won't want to do that. You know, that's why sometimes you may have another person that has to come alongside you to help you. And that's where Restored to Freedom, our ministry, comes in hand. Where, you know, again, I've done a lot of couples getting both of them to see and own their own things. You know, it doesn't matter who has Jezebel, who has Ahab. What matters is both parties humbling themselves, asking the Lord, if I've got anything in me, Lord, show me. Help me get freed. I want to be freed from this junk so that I can have peace and enjoy my marriage and my children. So, anyways, yeah, if any of you guys watching would want a session, again, I do about 7 to 8 personal sessions a week with people all over the world. And we have, for myself, there's a suggested donation of $100 for the session. They typically last an hour, and we will start from the very beginning. When you're in the womb, people get hurt when they're in the womb. If their mom or dad didn't want them, there were fighting, striving going on. A dad wanted a girl or a boy instead of a girl, or vice versa. And then at birth, and then we go through and say, what are some of the worst things that happened to you when you grew up? Because the first 18 years are the most critical, when you can't defend yourself. And then we have Jesus that will give you word of understanding, or will interrogate. At the end of the session, we interrogate the top demonic spirits. We have them speak to the person before the courts of heaven, so they cannot lie to you, and they will tell you if they still have legal rights after the session's over, if you've forgiven everyone or not, if you've repented for everything, and if there's still legal rights that they have, they'll tell you. Yep, still got legal rights. Oh, really? What are they? Well, the person didn't forgive this person, or they're very angry at this person. Oh, very angry at men, very angry at women, very angry at their dad, their mom. And I'm like, well, then they got to forgive, don't they? And that's true. So anyway, we'll take you through a session, and we interrogate the enemy at the end, and then the enemy will tell you what their names are, if they have legal rights. And if they don't, we command them to go to the pit, and then they're gone. And then you feel peaceful, and you feel lighter, and you have joy. And it's amazing. So anyways, got great, lots of testimonies that people's lives have changed, and people want the truth. People are tired of going to church and playing church, listening to great songs and music, but then not changing and still struggling in their lives. What fun is that? It's not fun at all. It's like a waste. We need to get serious about this and get people healed and delivered so they can enjoy their lives, and they can actually help other people get delivered and set free. All right, I will let you guys go. So see you on YouTube and Facebook. All right, love you. Bye.